Earl Sneed of Mavs.com, joined here by the television voice of the Mavs, Followill. Just talk about what you've seen from these guys out here as training camp concludes. What have you seen from the Mavs?
Well, I think most importantly, they've worked really hard. I mean, that's all you can ask for as a coach. They've come in here. I think the fact that it's a veteran team has really helped. It hasn't been a situation where there's had to be constant reinforcement of things that they've been taught this week. Everyone seems to be adapting to the system quite well and learning. All these new faces seem to be learning what the expectations are of the coaching staff and the sets that they're putting in on the offensive and defensive end of the floor. So it's been a very productive week of work. They've had some days they've really worked hard in here too, and that's been great to see. It's obviously a dedicated, pretty focused group.
Now, at the fan jam last night, we saw Sean Marion finishing above the rim a couple times. A lot of transition offense, but also defensive intensity was there. Is that the identity of this team going into this year?
Well, certainly one of the things they want to do is play a more up-tempo game. They tried to do some of that last year, but it didn't work out all the time. But I definitely think that with the addition of athleticism, and particularly with Sean Marion this year, they want to do that. I mean, obviously he was added here to be a guy who can take advantage of Jason Kidd's strengths as a point guard. Defense has been a big focus this week at training camp. Rick Carlisle, as you know, Earl, has talked on several occasions about how important it is that they focus on that end of the floor and improve some of their defensive efficiency numbers from last year. Not to bore everybody with numbers, but you've heard him talk about, I think they were in the middle of the pack in defensive efficiency. They want to be in the top 10. So you get stops, that generates opportunities to get easy baskets and runs. So that aspect of the identity you're talking about, those things sort of kind of mesh hand in hand. If you can play well on the defensive end of the floor, that's going to give you a chance to run and get easy baskets and be an up-tempo team.
Now, the preseason tips off on Monday against the Eastern Conference champion Orlando Magic. One guy who's new to the Magic, Brandon Bass, departure from the Mavs, but he's a nice little compliment to probably the best center in the league, Dwight Howard.
Well, yes, absolutely.
So, and the Mavs have a new piece playing in the post with Drew Gooden, but also a returner in Eric Dampier. How do you see that matchup
Well, I apologize for interrupting you, number one. And Brandon Bass, I think, look, everybody here knows what he can do. That you have to be able to step out and guard him. He's going to be able to knock down the 15 to 17-foot jumper. I think that it will be interesting to see how Rick plays it on Monday night, because this is one of those matchups where all of the talk about the expectation of Drew Gooden, a guy who's going to play a lot of minutes in the center position. This is one of the few traditional banging, scoring centers, inside guys in the league, and Dwight Howard. So clearly there's going to be those situations this year where Dampier is going to be counted on to battle those guys, and Dwight Howard's one of those guys I'm talking about. So, for however many minutes Dwight Howard's on the floor, Dam's going to have to battle him. So we may not get to see a complete unveiling of the smaller, more versatile up-tempo lineup. The versatility that we'll see is that when Dwight Howard's playing center and you got the big body, then you've got Dampier, and then when maybe a guy like Marcin Gortat, who was so close to being a Maverick, when he's in there playing center, a guy who's more mobile and runs the floor, maybe you'll see a little bit more of Drew Gooden. But I think more than anything from the game on Monday night, I think it's just, it's a chance to measure where you are against another team. And after a week of going against your teammates in practice, that's the thing you want as much as anything, just the chance to see someone else in a different uniform out there. And Bass is, it's going to be nice to see him. It's great that he had the success he had in terms of landing a free agent contract. I'm glad to see that he put in the work here, and good things have happened for him in that regard.
Now, two guys that are sort of coming along slowly because of off-season surgeries.
Right.
Tim Thomas and also Josh Howard. What is the team missing until those two guys come back?
Well, obviously we all know that Josh, when healthy, is a player who the Mavericks are counting on big time this year because of his ability to get to the basket, because of his versatility. He can create his own shot. He can play both ends of the floor very well. And of course, in Tim Thomas, they're missing a guy who they feel like can help space the floor because of his three-point shooting ability. Last year, he shot nearly 41% on his three-pointers between, the Clippers in New York and Chicago, I think, were the three teams he played for last year. So sometimes you can't keep them all straight. These guys move around so much. But, that's what they're missing out of those guys. And hopefully, according to Coach Carlisle, the plan is to bring them along and be in position to at least play some exhibition games. And hopefully it'll work out that way, because with new faces and new teammates, and, I think you want to get on the floor at least some of the exhibition season if you're both of those guys in Howard and Thomas.
speaking of the exhibition season, like we talked about, it begins Monday night against the Orlando Magic, the defending Eastern Conference champions at the AAC. You'll find us both there, and we hope you'll be there too. For Mavs.com, I'm Earl Sneed. This is the television voice of the Mavs, Followill, as training camp wraps up.